Alright, this is John Cole with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and this episode is going to be quite interesting. I've never covered this topic before, and actually most people into a plant-based diet, raw vegan diet, or whatever you want to say about eating more plants, don't even cover this topic, so I'm glad I'm able to do this. And I want to tell you guys actually a story, right? This is what I do in my free time. This is how nerd I am, even though I don't wear glasses yet. But here's the thing. So I was eating my dinner, and I make an amazing soup, right? So it's a raw food soup, 100% plant-based, and it's super nutrient dense. Not too many dinners could, in my opinion, beat out my nutrient dense soup. If you want to learn how I make my soup, check the link down below for a video on that topic specifically. Anyways, in my soup I have one of my favorite fermented foods to eat, which is right over here. Actually, it's the natto, so you can see it in a little package. You can make it yourself out of whole soybeans. You want to basically cook them, then add an inoculant to them, then let them ferment, or not necessarily ferment, but let the bacterium multiply, and this has to be done at 100 degrees. I haven't been too successful at making it myself, so I just buy it because I'm able to get a good company that makes it for me, and I get to eat it. And natto is an acquired taste. And I've done a lot of research on natto in the past, and I know that it's very high in vitamin K2, which is actually odd for a plant food. If you want to learn more about natto as a specific ingredient, hey, check the link down below. It's one plant food I believe every plant-based eater should be eating to get their vitamin K2. Although some people say we can make K2 in our bodies. That being said, I like to eat it because having excess of K2 is not necessarily going to cause any problems. Plus, my diet isn't a natto-based diet. I might eat, 4 to 8 ounces every week, which maybe I should even eat more than that because I really don't eat a lot. And then the other thing why I like the natto is because there's also an enzyme in there that is produced by the bacteria as they break down the soybeans called nattokinase. And if you go to the health food store, you can buy nattokinase in a bottle, packaged nattokinase, and it's said to get in and literally clean out your arteries, right? Whether that's from maybe calcification or maybe that's from, arterial sclerosis, hardening of your arteries and plaques and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to make any claims on that. So before we go on, I want to say that everything that I'm saying in this video is for entertainment purposes only, right? Before you do any kind of major health changes, dietary changes, please consult somebody qualified and professional, right? I just research this stuff for fun. I eat healthy because I almost lost my life, and now for 23 years I've been on a plant-based diet rich in fruits and vegetables that have been minimally processed or unprocessed, and now I'm even venturing forth, right? And so meanwhile, I was eating my natto, and I'm like, well, let's just look up natto again because I was bored, and let's see if there's any other nutrients in natto that I'm not aware of that I am actually getting when I'm eating my natto. So I looked up natto benefits, and I found some arcane article on how the soybeans or the natto contain this nutrient called polyamines. And we've heard about nutrients like protein and fats and carbohydrates, which are macronutrients, and that's really common. Maybe a lot of you guys, if you watch me, are more familiar with some of the micronutrients that in my opinion are even more important than the macronutrients. These are like vitamins and minerals, and more importantly things like antioxidants and flavonoids and anthocyanins and all these little smaller constituents of food, which in my opinion really convey and give us the health protection. And now there's another one that I just learned about after all these years called the polyamines. And this is relatively new information, when I got into raw foods. Actually, both these articles that I'll be talking about weren't even around. Although these nutrients in the foods have been discovered a long time ago, but only lately have science started to really do a lot of research on these. So I found out there's polyamines in the natto, as with all the other foods that I'm showing you guys on this table today. These are all foods that actually I eat on a regular basis in my diet, and we'll go over the amounts of polyamines and what they are actually in just a second, and why you should eat more of these specific foods, right? And here's the thing, this is why I encourage you guys to eat a variety of foods. Don't just always eat bananas and dates and romaine heads, right? Because then, guess what? You will be missing your polyamines. And some people might argue with me, John, we don't need polyamines, man. Our body makes them and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? Unless you're a person with cancer, have some kind of issues like polyamines, in my opinion, and based on, research published studies that I'll be reading to you guys in a second, and the links to these research studies are down below if you want to review those for yourself. In my opinion, they are basically saying that these polyamines are good for us to keep us healthy, to keep us younger, longer. And also other research shows that it's good for helping senescent cells, like basically detoxify and get them out of the body. Maybe valuable, these polyamines. So anyways, without further ado, let me go ahead and read this. This is actually the Journal on Aging, and once again, links are down below. It says the title is Polyamines in Aging and Disease. All right, abstract. Polyamines are polycations that interact with negatively charged molecules such as DNA, RNA, and proteins. They play multiple roles in cell growth, survival, and proliferation. Changes in polyamine levels have been associated with aging and disease. Their levels decline continuously with age, and polyamine, spermidine, or high polyamine diet supplementation increases lifespan in model organisms. So they tested mice, which I'm not in favor with. Polyamines have also been involved in stress resistance. On the other hand, polyamines are increased in cancer cells and are a target for potential chemotherapeutic agents. In this review, we bring together these various results and draw a picture of the state of knowledge on the roles of polyamines in aging, stress, and disease. All right, so what are they saying? Basically, they're nutrients that interact with DNA, RNA, right? DNA, RNA is very important. Like, if you guys are familiar with telomeres, these nutrients definitely are important to keep you young, right? And with age, your polyamine levels go down, and so I think it's prudent, not to go out of your way to only eat a diet in oranges or any of these other foods, but to include these foods, different kinds of foods, on a regular basis in your diet anyway, because they have polyamines and because they're just healthy foods in general, right? Besides the polyamines, all these foods have other nutrients that are totally amazing, and that's what I'm recommending. I'm not recommending a polyamine supplement because that's an isolated nutrient, and isolated nutrients can cause issues. They may be beneficial, but they can also cause issues. When you're getting into a whole food, plant-based form, you're getting a whole package with smaller amounts of these nutrients. And the way to get larger amounts is to eat more of these foods on a regular basis. All right, let's go ahead and read this introduction. Polyamines have been known for a long time, as the first one, spermine, was discovered over 330 years ago by microscopic observation of human semen. Yes, so you can eat semen if you want spermine. They have since been found in all eukaryotes and most prokaryotes. Polyamines are polycations, and thus one of their main features is to interact with negatively charged molecules such as DNA, RNA, or proteins. Given their promiscuity in binding other molecules, they are involved in many functions mostly linked with cell growth, survival, and proliferation. 3 polyamines, putrescine, spermidine, and spermine, are part of the very tightly regulated polyamine metabolic pathways. Polyamines are the subject of intense research in order to elucidate their functions and involvement in physiology. Polyamines are important players in plant growth, stress, and disease resistance, and that's why they are in plants, because they help the plants. But they are also involved in diseases, for example, Alzheimer's or infectious diseases. The main research area for the involvement of polyamines in disease is cancer, as high levels of polyamines are observed in cancer cells. More recently have shown a causative role for polyamines in longevity. So you might think like, whoa man, polyamines are in cancer cells, maybe I should avoid them because it causes cancer. I didn't say that, and if you have cancer, you might not, especially colon cancer, I definitely wouldn't be eating like polyamine foods. But let's go ahead and continue. In this review, we see how complex the interaction of polyamines with aging and diseases is. So far, polyamines have been reported to be beneficial for aging. They can increase lifespan and delay kidney glomerular atrophy. The various studies have also shown mainly positive effects of polyamines on stress resistance in plants' exogenesis spermine treatment, which means they're adding extra and increased polyamine synthesis by genetic means lead to higher stress resistance. Spermidine supplementation increases stress resistance and decreases age-related oxidative stress markers in several model organisms. High levels of polyamines are associated with many diseases, including cancers. In these cases, polyamines have mostly been thought of as exacerbating, if not causal factors. However, there have been no firm evidence that modulation of polyamine levels in itself can cause disease, whether cancer or other age-related diseases such as Parkinson's disease. All right. So that's this study, and then this study is actually from a Japanese journal, and it's basically the title is Biological Effects of Polyamines and the Prevention of Age-Associated Diseases and on Lifespan Extension. This was published in actually 2015, and the other one was, this was from a couple years ago, 2011, I think. Yes. All right. So I want to read a little bit of this to let you guys know. So healthy foods such as beans, mushrooms, and vegetables, and seafood, and healthy dietary patterns such as the Mediterranean diet and Japanese food have higher concentrations of polyamine, spermine, and spermidine. The continuous intake of high polyamine foods have been shown to increase whole blood polyamine levels in mice and humans. In addition, high polyamine chow inhibited aging-associated pathologic changes in male mice and extended their lifespan. All right. Furthermore, on the back, I'm going to read a little part of it. Epidemiologic studies and dietary polyamines. The result of many basic and animal studies have indicated that the favorable effects of dietary polyamines on human health and longevity. Epidemiological evidence indicating a positive association between a healthy diet and polyamine concentrations provide further support for the role of polyamines in human health. Many epidemiologic surveys investigating the correlation between food preferences and health have been conducted among the food surveyed. Legumes such as soybeans, unpolished flour, vegetables, fish, and shellfish have been noted as foods relevant to a healthy and long life. Germ and bran legumes, vegetables, and shellfish are foods with high polyamine concentrations per calorie. The foods that have a close relationship with an increased incident of aging-associated disease include Western desserts made from butter, cream, milk, eggs, sugar, and animal fats that contain little polyamines, all right? So here's the thing, a lot of those junk foods, they don't contain the polyamines. That's the only reason why they cause problems in the body. It's just one of the many reasons, right? And the polyamines, in my opinion, are one of the many reasons you guys should be increasing your fruit and vegetable consumption, and especially some of the foods that I am showing you guys today. Now, how do you guys know what foods have polyamines? Well, we got another chart, and this is also published journal information. I'll put a link down below to this publication if you guys want to print out this list for yourself so that you know. But basically, there's this study tested polyamines in cheeses and animals and plant-based products, and in most cases, the plant-based products come out on the top of the polyamines, in portion in grams and polyamines in milligram per portion, all right? So putrescine, highest in grapefruit. It's 200 portions in grams, or 19.6 milligrams per portion in fresh grapefruit juice. So yeah, drink some grapefruit juice. I would also believe that in grapefruits there are the polyamines, the putrescine as well. Orange juice also has the most because you are removing the fiber, so it's more concentrated, 17.0 milligrams per portion. Sauerkraut that I make myself from my homegrown vegetables, 14.6 milligrams per portion. And then we got the oranges at 14.0. John, I'm a fruitarian, man. I don't eat sauerkraut. It's rotten, fermented garbage. Good. Eat more oranges. That being said, besides the polyamines in the oranges or the sauerkraut, there's a whole other host of other nutrients in each food, right? If you eat oranges, you don't eat the sauerkraut, especially some of the ones out of the cruciferous vegetables like cabbage. You're not going to get some of these anti-cancer properties that are in there if you're only eating oranges, and vice versa. So that's why, once again, eat a variety of different foods, right? Minimally processed, homemade, like I make my own if you guys could make it, right? Anyways, we'll keep going. And then it's in crab, it's in maize or corn. So I have some freeze-dried corn that I made here, organic, 5.1 milligrams per portion. So that's significantly lower than like grapefruit or orange juice. Then we got the green peas. And actually green peas are literally the star of polyamines. They have a lot of the different polyamines in theirs. So peas green, 4.6, and then going lower we got 3.0 polyamines per portion. This is the putrescine once again. And then soybeans cooked. So the way I like to eat soybeans cooked are in two ways at present time. I like to eat the natto, which is basically cooked soybeans and then fermented. And then I like to eat the unpasteurized tempeh. This is 100% soy tempeh, unpasteurized, made by a company in Windsor, California, organic, right? And that's just frozen, all right? And then we could go potato cooked. It's 1.68. John, I'm getting my polyamines from potato. Well, potato man is 1.68 compared to grapefruit juice, 19.6, or orange juice. So really I want you guys to stick with some of these ones that I talked about first, all right? Next polyamine is the spermidine. And in soybeans cooked, it's 9.7 milligrams per portion. So that's why, eating your soybeans, and I only recommend and personally consume cooked and fermented soybeans that are unpasteurized. That's how I choose to eat my soybeans. I don't like to eat like just cooked soybeans. Like, that's not cool. With these, there's still the enzymatic activity, which are very important to me because they have additional benefits that you're not going to get when you start, eating enzymeless foods, right? So yeah, the tempeh, and most tempehs you buy at the health food store have been heat processed or pasteurized. You got to go out of your way to find the raw ones or make it yourself. And hopefully one of these days I will get my tempeh machine that I bought on Kickstarter years ago, and hopefully it'll appear at my door. And then after the soybeans, which are the highest, the green peas, next highest at 9.1, and then the pears. Eat more pears, guys. I don't really like pears, but I'm going to increase my pear consumption at 6.6. Lentil soup is 5.5. Mushroom is 4.4. So that's not quite the same as soybeans, but that's about half. And the polyamines are only one reason why you should eat the mushrooms, right? There's angiogenesis inhibitors in mushrooms. There's other properties in mushrooms. They're like highly anti-cancer, highly anti-disease. I want you guys to eat your mushrooms, and I eat the mushroom powder here, which is basically a Mushroom Harvest 14 mushroom blend powder, USDA. This mushroom powder has been heat processed because, in my opinion, and based on talking to Paul Stamets personally, mushrooms need to be cooked to be broken down so that we can benefit from them and we don't get the toxins. Yeah, you can eat some mushrooms raw here or there, but they're not going to be as beneficial, in my opinion, they're not going to be as beneficial to your health unless they're cooked. All right, so I get this heat processed product that's been cooked, so I can just add this to recipes pretty much every night when I'm making a salad dressing or a soup. I just sprinkle some of this mushroom powder in there, and this is an expensive way to go. It'd be easier to buy your own mushrooms and cook them, but I don't cook any food, all right? And then we got red beans, 3.7, broccoli, 3.6, cauliflower, 3.0. Then we get down into chicken and steak, which is 2.2, which in my opinion is really a poor source of the polyamines. Soybeans at 9.7 with, better protein sources is much better than getting it from your chicken. And then finally in the back we got the spermine polyamines, and that's the greatest actually in cow liver. I do not recommend eating the cow liver or actually any other animal parts. Based on the research that I've done, they increase disease, and this is especially happening if you eat more than 10% of your calories from animal products. So if you eat 2,000 calories a day, if you have more than 200 calories of animal products a day, in my opinion, and based on science actually, you're likely to be more prevalent in disease unless you eat massive amounts of all the other healthy food to basically counteract the bad stuff, right? That's just my opinion, all right? Anyways, green peas, once again, rule. Whether you want to eat them, frozen. I get organic frozen green peas when I'm not able to get them fresh. And then I also eat freeze-dried organic peas that I make myself in my freeze dryer. 7.3, so that's like the highest plant food in spermine. And then of course it goes down to like pork, chicken, and then soybeans are at 4.0, so that's like respectable. Pears 3.5, lentil soup 1.85, right? So basically what I'm going to say is they've only tested certain foods, but as a general category, I would say that beans are very high in some of these polyamines, so increase your bean consumption. I like to focus on these green peas, and the cheapest place I found to buy these guys are at Costco. Most Costco's will have this organic bag, and it's like super cheap. It's like what, 0.81 cents or 8 cents an ounce, literally, for these guys. So like per pound, I forget, but super cheap to buy organic green peas. Now these have been heat processed, so you know I do have a video where I share the foods that I eat that are not raw. Put a link down below to that video in the description so you guys can find out. And this is one of them, because I believe as a raw foodist, we really need to be including more of these beans in our diets. And many of them can be eaten raw. You know, carob technically is a bean. You know, I grow sugar snap peas in mass abundance in the, you know, the springtime that are producing in the spring. Eat those out of my garden. I tried to get, you know, sugar snap peas and buy sugar snap peas. Actually, I like to dip them in guacamole or another raw dressing that I make, and eat those in high volumes and try to increase my bean consumption because of all the beneficial properties of the beans. Besides the polyamines, you know, there's like indigestible fibers that are really good for our microflora in our guts. I mean, it's basically like all these foods don't just have like vitamin C in oranges. That's why you should eat them. You know, there's bioflavonoids and there's polyamines and there's like all these other phytonutrients that the orange tree literally makes to protect the orange from the elements and to protect its cells from getting DNA or RNA damage and stuff. So I mean, and when we eat these foods, these protections are conveyed upon us. So that's why I really want you guys, you know, to increase and make sure you're eating some of these foods on a regular basis. Would I only ever eat oranges because it's so good or whatever? No, you know, I like to have oranges sometimes. At this point, I might eat oranges once a week, but then I got plenty of mangoes and black sapotes and persimmons and organic grapes and apples and pineapples. And actually today I had cactus fruit. Like every day I'm eating different foods because every food, you know, has discovered and still yet to be undiscovered. Even in 2019, when you think we know it all, we don't, right? And I just want to get all these different phytonutrients into me to have the most disease-proof body that I can. And in plant foods, right, provided you're not eating an excessive amount of any one thing, it's highly unlikely, unless you're, of course, allergic to certain nutrients or something, you know, for it to cause any issues, in my opinion, and based on my research, all right? So anyways, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Include more of these. Once again, I'll go over them. Natto, Megumi Natto from Sebastopol, California, organic. They also make a non-GMO, non-organic version that's only available usually at like Japanese Asian stores, although you can order that online, although it does get really expensive. So it might be even better to learn how to make it yourself. It's not that hard. I also got this, I think it's called Alive and Well, unpasteurized soy tempeh from Windsor, California. And I mail ordered these. I sent them frozen. Here we have my sauerkraut that is homemade, made with usually probably Napa cabbage is what I use. Organic oranges from the Southern California Farmers Market, and also ones from Mexico. And we got the Mushroom Harvest 14 Mushroom Powder Blend from Mushroom Harvest. I think they're up in Oregon. They grow and process this themselves, certified organic, and there's a nice spectrum of mushrooms in there. And then we got the freeze-dried peas and corn that I make myself, although you guys can buy this at like Whole Foods. Although I wouldn't recommend it. They're quite expensive. You get like, I don't even know, 2 ounces for like $5. Totally a rip-off. Instead, I would encourage you guys to get the organic green peas. I love the organic green peas and organic green white corn, or better yet, yellow corn from Costco. In these packages, they have been blanched before freezing, so technically they're not raw, but in my opinion, they're more important to eat. Even though they have been blanched, there's still plenty of nutrients in there, and my diet isn't just green peas and organic corn that have been blanched. I mix this into like a big salad, so I sprinkle some of this in my bowl first, I add on my soup or add on my salad, so that by the time I'm ready to eat, these are thawed out and nice and delicious to eat, and also providing me with the polyamines as well. There are other beneficial nutrients that are contained within the peas or beans. You know, that's, I think, one of the things that I would have changed if I would have, you know, if I know now what I would have known when I started raw foods. If you want me to make a video like 10 things that I know now that I totally would have did differently than when I started, hey, please give a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. I've been thinking about making a video because there's so much new technology and things available that I've learned just in the past couple years, that I wish I knew 23 years ago when I started, because it would have changed my trajectory of being on a raw plant food diet, and I think I would be healthier because of it. But we all have the opportunity right now to change, even though you've been doing it the certain way all these years, and maybe not including garlic and onions because you think they're toxic. There's plenty of benefits to them. I don't want to say make meals out of garlic and onions because that's obscene too, but include some of these foods that have all these amazing properties within them, like you guys learned today. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with other people on a raw food, plant-based diet so that they can start including some of these literally anti-aging foods into their diet. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or will be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified of my new episodes as they come out, so you don't miss anything. And then finally, be sure to check out past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, or 500 episodes on this channel at this time, teaching you and spreading the knowledge about eating more plant foods, especially the fruits and vegetables, in their raw, natural, and most unprocessed state as ever, so you could benefit from them the most. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.